or a nature, if you will, that was unlike our previous nature. Okay, um, and that doesn't mean that we're perfect or that our old behavioral habits are eradicated. That new disposition has the attitude of Jesus Christ of wanting to please and obey God completely. But our old disposition is governed by our desire to make our own choices. And so when you become a Christian, you have an old nature and a new nature. Now, if somebody professes to become a Christian, and that we really don't see any kind of fruits whatsoever, then we have reason to suspect that they're not born again, that they haven't been born again by the Spirit of God. Okay. Now, Christians can and do make mistakes. They can and do make faults. I certainly am guilty of that myself. Okay. But the point is the Christian is dealing with a spiritual battle between the old and the new nature until they die. And then when we die, our old nature, our old disposition will be eradicated. We will be the same person, but forever there onward, we will be motivated to want to please God. Okay, because when we turn to Christ as Christ for salvation, we're not just asking to be saved from the lake of fire. We're being asked to be. We're asking to be saved from the very presence of sin itself. Now, getting back to the example you gave, um, we are not saved by our performance. At the end of our lives, God is not going to weigh the scales because nobody is righteous. Okay. So, for example, there's a guy in prison. His name is David Berkowitz. Back in the 1970s, he was known as the son of Sam Killer. And he got into the occult, his mind got warped, and he started killing people indiscriminately. But he was eventually caught. He went to prison and he got a sentence that he could never be released from prison whatsoever. But he became a Christian, right? And based upon his testimony, it seems to be genuine. Now, this is not a jailhouse conversion, which usually means that somebody's pretending to be converted so they can have a lighter or shorter sentence. He has no hope of ever being released ever, right? Now, he murdered a number of people. But God says that if we repent, God will forgive all of our sins, okay? Because our entrance into heaven will not be based upon a certain level of performance. It would be based upon the grace of God that is only applied to those who recognize that they cannot escape the wrath of God. Okay? So David Berkowitz, and I'm assuming that his profession of faith is genuine, even though he murdered a number of people in cold blood when he was into the occult, um, he's going to be in heaven. Okay? And some guy who didn't commit murder and who helped stray dogs and did a lot of community service and was always kind to his wife and children and his neighbors. Okay. If he doesn't repent, that person's going to hell because they're still in a state of defiance against God. Okay.
Do you believe in the Old Testament as well as a Christian?
Well, when you say believe in the Old Testament, I'm not sure what you quite mean. Do I believe that it is the Word of God? Yes. Do I believe that all of the 630 plus laws of Moses that were laws in a covenant relation with the nation of Israel apply universally to everybody on this earth? No, I'm not under the dietary laws. Now, there are certain laws within the Mosaic Code that reflect God's general purposes in creation, but prior to God's covenant with Israel. And so, certain of those principles reflecting God's general purposes in creation are universally binding. Okay. But there are certain things in the Mosaic law, like, for example, um, the dietary restrictions, the ceremonial laws, right? Those do not universally apply to other people that are outside the covenant relationship. But for example, the ban on um, marrying close relatives, the ban on um, stealing, murder, rape, these reflect God's character and his general purposes in creation. And so those are applicable.
You're so fucking boring. Oh my
Or
god.
the ban.
Holy
Okay,
shit.
well, do you have an objection? Would you like to make it not boring? If I'm boring, why do you stay? Or did he already leave already?
I think he left.
Yeah, so that was a drive-by atheist cockroach. Okay,
Or
this
just
is
a bored guy that caught your attention.
yeah. What was his username so I can make sure he won't come in here again?
Have no idea.
Anyone catch his name? We'll facilitate so that he doesn't have to be bored again.
Just let him go. Don't worry about that. So basically, so what do you think? Like, what do you think about Israel? Who does it belong to?
What do I think about Israel?
Yeah.
Because of my views on prophecy, my position is that God is not done with Israel. That God still has certain promises that have to be fulfilled with Jesus returning as the Messiah and setting up an earthly kingdom for a period of time. And in the book of Revelation, we find out that's 1,000 years.
So Israel belongs to no one?
Oh, you're talking about the land?
Yeah.
No, that the land belongs to the Jews.
Oh hell yeah.
I'm staunchly pro-Israel.
Love you, buddy. Have you ever been in Jerusalem before?
No, but one day I hope to visit there.
How old are you, if I may ask?
60.
It's never too late.
But what about? I wanted to ask, what about the people who are both have been there before the wave of Jewish migration, such as Palestinian Muslims and Christians? Like where do they fit into?
Well, there's no such thing as Palestinians. Okay, this is a myth. Yeah, this is a modern myth. Okay. There never was a land. There never was a land of Palestine. Okay, the land was Israel, and then a Roman, I don't know, general I forget who it was. I'd have to go back and look. Right.
It was the Roman Empire that named Israel Palestine.
The Roman
Hadrian.
the Roman Empire changed the name of the land as an FU to the Jews, because the word Palestine comes from Philistine. Okay, so this is a myth. The overwhelming majority of the people that are on the West Bank, they're Jordanians. Okay, these are Jordanians. Okay.
Can I elaborate about this since I live in the area?
Yeah, please do.
Thank you very much. So, I have nothing against anyone. By the way, I respect everyone, every people and shit like that. So what happened is that after the Roman Empire basically vanished all of us and renamed the land, before that, we used to have those enemies across Israel in nowadays what's called the Arab world. And the name of those enemies were the Plishtim. That's in Hebrew. The Plishtim were the enemies of the Jews. They were they believed in multiple gods, and they brought a lot of destruction to Israel, and the Jews fought against them for a long time. They don't have anything to do with the Palestinians that exist now whatsoever. They are just named like them because of the Roman Empire. What happened is that after the Roman Empire expelled all of the Jewish people outside of Israel, they, as you said, they renamed the land as Palestine. For saying "fu" to the Jews, because the Jewish people tried to rebelliate against the Roman Empire, and
So you agree that that the change of the name was a basic, FU to the Jews.
Yeah, and also they really wanted to erase any existence of the Jewish people out of the land. That's the reason they destroyed also the second temple that we used to worship God in Jerusalem, and they renamed a lot of cities out of their leaders in the Roman Empire. And what happened after in the Ottoman Empire, when the Ottoman Empire conquered the land of Israel, they have brought a lot of citizens of their empire from Jordan, Lebanon, and Syria, and they brought them to settle almost in the same time as the first Jewish migration came. So the Jewish people and the Palestinian people, when it comes to migrations, they came almost in the same time. But the Jewish people
Yeah,
came.
so I don't. Yeah, so so I agree with you. I think this idea that there's a Palestine is a historical revisionism. There are not Palestinians. These are Arabs. Okay, they're Jordanians.
Yeah. By the way, I've been in Jerusalem so many times, and like, if you would ever come, just I think that you will enjoy. You will really enjoy
Oh, I agree with you.
Jerusalem.
I know I do. You listen. Is Israel a perfect country? No, but I'm a staunch defender. And it's just like what other country in the world deals with a bunch of terrorists that are next to Israel, indiscriminately dropping, firing missiles into civilian locations, and then when we find out where their weaponry is and things like that, we give them a 5-minute warning to get out, and then we destroy the building. Who does that? Okay,
A lot of people don't know that. They just assume that Israel is bombing like buildings out of the
right.
just for no reason.
They call first, and then a projectile is fired first. Okay, an inert projectile to rock the building. And then a short time later, that's when they fire something that has an explosive capacity. Okay.
Yeah. So
Imagine
I'm
all
a
the people who,
soldier.
yeah. Imagine all the
Uh,
people, imagine all the people who complain when Israel, when it does retaliate in a very restrained manner, but they do retaliate. Because if they don't retaliate, then there will be even more attacks. Imagine these same people living in the United States had people firing missiles from one state into another, okay, and they were in the state where they were receiving those missiles. They would sure want to be. They want retaliation of some kind. Okay.
we have a saying over here in Israel where um, Hamas, right?
Oh yeah.
So we have a saying over here in Israel that if Hamas would drop their weapons, there would be a peace between the Palestinians and the Israelis. But if Israel would drop their weapons, there would not be Israel whatsoever anymore.
No. No. Absolutely not. Okay. Look, they are committed. Look, these are Muslims. Okay. For them, the Muslims are on the West Bank, excuse me, in the Gaza Strip, and you correct me if I'm wrong, they teach little children in grade school that Jews are lower than pigs and that they're only fit for being annihilated. I mean, this is how sick these people, how demonic they are.
Yeah, when we go into those schools, they also their education and the books that they used to learn from was how to identify a Jew, like Hitler did, and basically all about like hating the Jews and throwing Molotovs at them and rocks. I'm not saying all of the Muslim people are like that. Definitely 100% no. I know a lot of Muslim people that lives in Israel, and they are very, very kind. They are very humble and very nice people. But because there is a terror organization that exaggerating the things that in their religion and they are doing so many horrible things. Just taking the quotes from the Quran and exaggerating them and using them and influencing the Muslim people in the Gaza Strip just to do a lot of mess to Israel and to join the terror organization. So this is, for me,
See, I don't
very, very
agree with you
horrible.
there. I don't agree with you there that they're exaggerating it. They're just doing what the Quran says. Okay?
Well, but yet they still manage to influence little children. They give children like AKs and weapons and stuff like that. Like this is very horrible. I'm in the army. I'm 20 years old, and yeah, I'm still really afraid to shoot anyone, and I would not do it unless there would be an immediate threat for my life or for others. And I've sworn to protect anyone that needs to be protected. It doesn't matter for me if it's a Palestinian or Israeli. And this is how we do it over here in Israel, while the rest of the world thinks that we are child killers or something like that. Like, to be fair, I don't care about that.
Well,
Because
I completely agree with you.
yeah, because I know my own truth. I don't like to talk politics about um when people have never been in my country, so all of a sudden they start to talk shit about my country. It's not like I'm talking shit about their country and stuff like that. I talk about the
Well,
things that
most of these
I've seen.
people, in my opinion, most of these people are either ignorant or they're just liars.
Yeah, basically. I'm not saying Israel is perfect, of course not. Um, but yet the things that you see in the media most of the times are very biased and very edited when it comes to real life and what happened in the same situation. For example, we had like a terror attack a couple days ago, and in the Israeli media, they've basically shown everything. They've shown the knife. They've shown the person that did it, and they've shown the whole video of the stabbing and stuff like that. In the Palestinian media, what they've said, it was Israel killed Palestinian citizen, not more than that. You understand?
Surprise, surprise.
1 second. Can other people join, or is it just between you two?
Are you talking to us?
Yeah. Can other people join the
Yeah,
conversation?
dude. You sound like you're in the 10th stall at McDonald's.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, much better.
Yeah. Sorry. What I said was, is the conversation between you two, or can the audience join? Just asking.
Anyone can join as long as somebody's not trolling. You're free to vigorously disagree. We just don't
All right.
tolerate drive-by
Oh.
cockroaches.
Okay. Can I ask a question to the Israeli guy?
Yeah, what's up?
Yes, yeah. Feel free.
Okay. So, so you talked a lot about Hamas and how they've been attacking rockets to Israel. Are you aware that had it not been for the facilitation of Israel and Israel withdrawing from Gaza, Hamas would not be a thing?
Yeah, I'm not denying that. You're correct. The Hamas organization in 2008, they got elected in democracy elections in the Gaza Strip, and then they've became the terror organization that they are right now. Back then, they used to collaborate with other terror organizations, with Fatah and the Islamic Jihad. That, by the way, they are still in the Gaza Strip as well. But they have separated forces because their ideologies were different than each other. Nowadays, if there is something critic, they would collaborate once again, like they've done in the Guardian of the Walls operation that we had in Israel. Cool.
I mean, sure, but it just seems like Israel has the responsibility really here to show restraint because they're the ones that have all the power. I mean, like it's not
Yeah.
really it's
In the Gaza Strip, Hamas is basically controlling anything. So if a Gaza citizen wants to work or something like that, they would work for Hamas because they are controlling the market. they're controlling the economy, they're controlling everything. Unfortunately, what happened in the 1970s is that when we conquered half month of Sinai from Egypt, we also conquered the Gaza Strip from them. So after years, we gave the Sinai back for peace purposes, and we also wanted to bring also the Gaza Strip to them.
Hold on. You gave back what?
The half island Sinai.
It's a peninsula.
Do you mean the Sinai?
Yeah, Sinai. People,
Okay.
I don't know, like over here in Israel we say Sinai, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, so the half island Sinai, we brought them back, but the Egyptian people didn't want to get back the Gaza Strip, so we they told us, yo, like, yeah, we take Sinai, but you gonna keep the Gaza Strip. We don't want to handle the Palestinian people anymore. So we got fucked. We got screwed
Wait a
a
minute.
lot.
The so-called Palestinian.
Yeah. And yeah, since the 70s, we're taking care of them, giving them food, water, electricity, and stuff like that. And if in my opinion, if Hamas would not exist whatsoever, and they could run the Gaza Strip peacefully without any Israel like involving, I think that they could be a thriving place and just a good place for the Palestinian people to live. I think that Hamas is just ruining the Gaza Strip. They're ruining the life of people. I know a lot of people that ran away from Gaza.
Yeah, and the
And
reason why is because they are just following the Quran.
not necessarily. They just
The
under the
Quran
occupation of Hamas.
tells them to kill the Jews.
True.
If the
Islam
Quran
Islam has been since its inception by Muhammad a bloodthirsty, just a violent situation. Okay, Islam is bent on world domination. Okay, why do you think the Crusades happened? Right, because if it wasn't for if the Crusades hadn't been successful, we in Europe and America, we'd be praying to Mecca 5 times a day.
I mean, no, not really.
Okay.
You're how old are you?
Me, I'm 19.
Okay, yeah, you're uninformed and you're naive. Okay,
Okay.
do you understand that the Muslims were invading northward? Okay, Islam is a religion bent on world domination. Okay, now the reason why they haven't done more than they have is because they didn't have the technology or the capability. Okay,
No.
what do you think? Listen, what do you think? Why do you think Iran is trying to develop nuclear weapons? Okay, what had they actually stated? This devout Muslim leadership there. What is their stated purpose? They want to use the nuclear weapons to annihilate Israel. Okay.
No, it's just politics. It's not about religion.
100% about politics. It's not to annihilate Israel. They saw what
Dude,
happened.
please fix your microphone.
Yeah. Sorry, it's just that I'm okay. Yeah. It's not because of religion. It's just they saw what happened in Iraq. The Saddam regime did not have nuclear weapons. They were toppled over, and they were like, okay, we don't want to be toppled like that. So if we develop nuclear weapons, the United
No,
States.
sir, you are very naive. Okay.
No, I mean you're the one who's
You-
buying the Obama rhetoric
are-
that like, oh, it's.
I'm buying what? Wait a minute. I'm buying what rhetoric?
The Obama rhetoric, the U.S. companies, the U.S.
Obama, sir. I'm as anti-Obama as they come.
No, his administration was the one that was putting
Okay,
full.
why? Listen to me. Why was Saddam Hussein toppled?
Do you want the real reason or the official reason?
Okay, sir, listen. Don't jerk me around. Listen, you're not talking to some other teenager here, okay? I've had 3 times your lifespan, okay? I watched all this stuff before you were alive and while you were picking your nose as a 2-year-old, okay? Now, I'm not trying to throw you under the bus here. I'll ask you again. Why was Saddam Hussein toppled?
To destroy a U.S. enemy in the Middle East.
Wrong. You don't know what you're talking about, okay? Now,
Darth, pardon me for interrupting, but
yeah.
I need to go.
Okay. Hey, listen, thank you for your input. Please come again, and I'd like to hear more of your perspective because you're in the area.
Oh,
Okay, so the other gentleman, okay, when Saddam Hussein was removed from power, who did that?
The U.S. military.
Okay, can you get close to your mic, please?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm close.
Okay, under which president?
George W. Bush.
Okay, what was the legal basis for them doing so?
The what do you call it? The thought or the presumption that he had weapons of mass destruction.
Was that the only reason?
That was the main reason. That was the main reason. I'm not sure if that was the only reason. They probably had other reasons.
Was there any other underlying reason?
Yeah, he failed to meet. I believe he didn't allow weapons inspection, so that I mean, yeah, that and then
why was that a problem?
well, I mean, then they couldn't confirm that he didn't have them, so it gave them more of a.
Why would that be a problem?
I mean, if someone suspects you of having weapons and you don't allow inspectors, it makes you more suspicious.
Other countries have weapons, so and
yeah, exactly.
Why would
exactly.
okay? Why what? So let's see have certain weapons that we don't want them to have, and
yeah, exactly. It wouldn't be a problem had he not been a U.S. enemy, but he is.
Well, there are other countries that have weapons that we don't want to have. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Because they have nuclear weapons and we can't do anything about them, so we don't touch them.
No. Listen. There's something underlying that obviously you're unaware of. Do you know what that? I guess you don't know what that is, do you?
I mean, no, I don't.
Okay. What was the toppling, the military name for the toppling of Saddam Hussein called?
You mean the U.S. general at the time?
No. What was the title of the military operation?
Oof.
It's called Operation Iraqi Freedom.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Okay. Now, was there a military operation prior to that?
Yes, there was one in 1991, Operation Desert Storm, I believe.
Right. And what happened with that?
So Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait, and interestingly enough, they had a Kuwaiti girl lie in Congress about Iraqis throwing babies out of incubators.
Okay, sir. Did Saddam Hussein use weapons of mass destruction on the Iranians?
Oh yeah, the ones we gave him. Yes, he did.
No, we didn't give him those weapons. He developed himself. Okay. Now, again, are you aware of the fact that the United States gave Saddam Hussein some intelligence about movement of troops? Do you know why we did that?
Is it? I mean, we were enemies of Iran at the time, especially considering after the revolution. So I think it's.
Do you know what the United States foreign policy was in the 1980s?
I have a general idea, yeah.
What was it?
The 1980s was, stopping communism.
No, I'm talking about specific to the Mideast. Okay, what was going on in the mid 1980s in the Mideast?
Well, in the mid 1980s, the main issue was the Iranian Revolution.
No, the Iranian Revolution happened in the
79.
In the 70s. Okay, we're talking about the mid 80s. what was going on in the mid-'80s, okay, in that region of the world that the United States was directly concerned about in terms of our foreign policy? What was the policy of the Reagan administration trying to facilitate an outcome?
Okay, so there
Do you-
was the war in
Do-
Afghanistan between the Soviets and
No, sir. No, that's not what we're talking about. I'm talking about with Saddam Hussein.
okay, well then no, I am not.
Do you know? Okay, so
Yeah,
if you don't know this stuff, it undermines your ability to understand history in terms of what you do know. Okay, I'll just tell you what it is. Okay, the United States foreign policy was that that the war between Iraq and Iran would end in a stalemate. Okay, because either one emerging as a victor would produce serious problems for the Mideast. Okay. So the reason why Saddam Hussein was given certain intelligence information from time to time was not to aid him in becoming victorious. He was only given certain intelligence information to stop the Iranians from winning and then gobbling up Iraq. Okay, do you understand that?
okay.
Now, Saddam Hussein developed chemical weapons, and he used them against the Iranians, something that even Adolf Hitler didn't do. Saddam Hussein used chemical weapons on his own citizens.
Sarin gas, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a man who was a bloodthirsty killer and was ready and willing to use chemical weapons. When he invaded Iran, do you know why he invaded Iran?
Wasn't it to reclaim like an Arab province? Something
No.
like that?
No. There's one single reason why he invaded.
Well, I don't know it then. If it's not that reason.
Okay. He wanted to capture the certain oil fields. Okay? That's why he did it. Now, so after that war ended in a stalemate, he was deeply in debt, right? And so his own oil production wasn't going to be sufficient to cover that debt. That's why he eventually invaded Kuwait, and then he poised his military on the border of Saudi Arabia. The Saudi Arabians were so scared shitless that they invited the infidel Americans to bring their army onto their territory. Now, do you have any idea how scared shitless they would have to be to do that?
Yeah,
Sir?
it was terrifying for them. One of Arab's largest armies just declared war on its neighbors. Yeah.
Okay. And he was amassing weaponry and troops on the border. Okay. Now, at that time, do you know who the president was?
Of the U.S. Yeah, wasn't it Bush Senior?
Yeah, it was Bush Sr. Okay. George Bush, along with a coalition of other nations, told him to get his big fat ass out of Kuwait and stop his aggression. He didn't comply. So Operation Desert Storm, okay, or excuse me, Operation Desert Shield turned into Operation Desert Storm. And we did not obliterate the military entirely because that wasn't the purpose, but we obliterated enough of it so that it no longer posed a threat to us. And George Bush Sr. had to make a very difficult decision. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. Leave him in power or take him out of power. Okay? So they decided that now that he was emasculated, that it would be better to leave him in power emasculated rather than create a vacuum where a radical group of Muslims could take over Iraq, which I don't think was necessarily a bad decision. When Saddam Hussein surrendered, he signed a surrender agreement that he would comply with all the stipulations, and if he didn't, we would resume military activity and remove him. Were you aware of that?
Yes, I was.
Okay. So after Ross Perot ran as an independent to screw George W. Bush from winning, which he would have won had Ross Perot not run, Bill Clinton became the president, okay? A leftist closet commie type, right? Bill Clinton did little to nothing to enforce the surrender agreement for 7 years. And he allowed Saddam Hussein to apparently keep on developing, storing, moving around chemical weapons, right? Bill Clinton stated that he had weapons of mass destruction. Al Gore stated it. All the world's top intelligence services came to the same conclusion, including the Israeli intelligence services. So Operation Iraqi Freedom was a direct enforcement of the surrender terms, okay? Now, the attack on 9/11 also helped to motivate the United States to want to remove him because he was sympathetic to terrorists, right? So do you understand the background information now?
Yes, I mean, I understand all the grievances the U.S. had against them. I'm just saying, the reason Iran wanted a nuclear weapon is to prevent something like that happening to them.
No, they're not. That's not their main motivation. Their main motivation is complete domination of the region because they're radical Islamicists. Okay. Do you understand that the ruling mullahs are just extreme Islamic radicalists? Do you understand that they not only do they want to annihilate Israel, which they have stated a number of times, it has been their goal to control that whole area in the Mideast. Okay, they're not developing these weapons simply to protect themselves. Okay, how come Saudi Arabia isn't developing a nuclear weapon? How come?
They have to basically guarantee protection of the United States. So, like, who's gonna touch them?
No. The point is Iran is run and controlled by psycho radical Muslims. Okay.
Okay, wait. Let me ask you a question. So it's completely radical for them to want to dominate their region, as they have been a regional power in that region for millennia, as explained through their history. But the Americans wanting to dominate their region, that's okay. But they
How
can't dominate
how are we dominating their region?
toppling their neighbor, setting up military bases, basically occupying.
Okay,
Iran.
that's bullshit. That is bullshit. They know very well what our foreign policy is and our purposes for doing so. Okay, this is a guy who is a mass murdering psychopath. They know damn well that we did what they couldn't do, and that is remove a mass murdering psychopath who endangered not only the world's supply of energy, oil, but he endangered other people in that region with weapons of mass destruction. Okay? They know damn well why we went in there. It was not for us to go and overthrow them. The main reason why they want nuclear weapons is because they are terrorists at heart. Okay? Do you know that Iran is the largest state sponsor of international terrorism? Did you know that?
I mean, sure, probably the U.S. has them listed
Okay,
as that.
sure. Wait a minute, hold on. Okay, when you say sure, is that a yes?
I mean, the word terrorist does not mean much, but yeah, sure.
Is that
I mean, yes.
listen, young man? I asked you a question. Do you understand that Iran, ever since the Iranian Revolution, is the largest state sponsor of international terrorism?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. So this is what underlies their mentality for weapons of mass destruction. They're the largest state sponsor of international terrorism, okay, including the fact that they want to wipe out Israel. Do you understand that the Iranian mullahs, the government of Iran, want to wipe out Israel? Do you understand that? Do you understand that they have claimed publicly that they will annihilate Israel? Did you know that?
Yeah, I understand that. Yes, there are
No,
a
I
lot
said
of.
I said, did you know that?
Oh yes, I did.
Okay. So we can stop with this stuff that, they're just building nuclear weapons because they're fearful.
Are you familiar with the situation that's occurring in Yemen?
At the moment?
I was asking.
Me?
Bobby, yeah.
Yes, I am familiar.
So, do you not believe that the Houthis are terrorists?
How are they terrorists? In what way?
You know their government structure and how they treat their civilians in that government structure, which is authoritarian and military.
So
Are you familiar?
Because authoritarian, it then becomes a terrorist structure. That's not how.
No, they enslave. Okay, you don't know. I guess. Never mind.
I mean, yeah. Sorry for them resisting. 6 years of Saudi-led coalition invasion that have killed so many civilians. I mean, if that makes them terrorists, not being a terrorist would be the wrong thing to be.
Look, do you know why we're dealing now with a potentially nuclear armed Iran? Do you know what? Do you know historically what is the root cause of this?
Well, yeah, because Trump canceled the Iran deal. So
What?
Okay.
What?
Listen to me. You are okay. You are. I don't think you're stupid. I just think that because you're 19 years of age, you're just historically uninformed. Okay. The root historical cause of this present situation is Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter was a loser. He was a governor of Georgia. His presidency was a disaster. Okay? Do you know that Jimmy Carter helped to facilitate the Iranian Revolution? Did you know that? Did you know that?
Sorry, can you repeat that again?
Jimmy Carter helped to facilitate the Iranian Revolution by his purposeful inaction.
Yeah, I did not know that. No.
Okay. Now, we live in a dangerous world. And sometimes we deal with countries and regions where some of these people are not nice. But you want to know something? Some of these not nice people are a whole lot nicer than some other people. Okay? Now, not to change subjects. Do you know that the Cuban people have been enslaved by Castro since the very early 60s or late 50s? Did you know that?
How have they been enslaved? And do you mean that literally or
Okay, they are enslaved by a communist dictatorship. Have you seen what the conditions are there? Do you understand that they are? Listen, do you understand if you were to go to Cuba, you will still find numerous cars that driving around that look like they're from the 1950s, and these are not antique collector cars. The reason why they have it is because they can't afford new cars.
Okay.
So
do you think, 1 second. Do you think it might have something to do with the decades-long
okay? You see, this is the problem when you get propaganda from the left or from your school or from the news media. Okay, you get duped. Listen carefully. Okay, listen. Was Fidel Castro a monstrous, murderous dictator?
No, he wasn't.
Oh
What?
my god, bro.
What? Hold on a second. What did you say?
No, he wasn't. He was a dictator.
All right,
but
okay.
he was
Okay. You are a completely ignorant young man. He was a brutal dictator. He killed anyone who opposed him, and those who he didn't kill, he put into jail. He has enslaved the island of Cuba. Do you have any idea what the living conditions were in Cuba prior to Castro coming to power?
Yes, it was a banana republic ruled by Batista, where people were essentially
I didn't ask you that. Okay, I said the living conditions.
Yeah, it was terrible.
No, it was vastly better than what transpired ever since. Batista was not a good guy. Okay, was he a dictator? Yes, but you see, liberals don't understand that sometimes the cure is worse than the disease. Okay, Fidel Castro was many times worse than Batista was. If the Cuban people could have voted at any time during Castro's brutal, murderous reign, right, to remove Castro and go back to the Batista days, they'd do it in a heartbeat. Okay? He ruined that once thriving Caribbean island where people would go there for vacationing, entertainment, gambling. Okay? Now, why did that happen? It's because JFK didn't have the balls to stop this. Okay?
Yeah.
And because he didn't have the balls to stop it, all right, then Khrushchev placed missiles in Cuba because he thought Kennedy was ineffectual. And then we had the Cuban Missile Crisis. And then we have documentaries portraying Kennedy as a hero of letting it escalate into an all-out nuclear war when he was actually the cause of it all.
If I could interject real quickly,
Yes.
Cuba had the 29th largest economy in the world in 1958 before the revolution.
Yeah. Nobody is saying that Batista was Prince Charming, but compared to Castro, he was. Okay? So JFK was ineffectual. All right, why am I mentioning this? Okay? Because there's a pattern in history. Then we come to Jimmy Carter. The Shah of Iran was not a nice guy. Okay? He would jail political opponents, even have them tortured. But he was nowhere near as bad as the religious mullahs. And Jimmy Carter, because he was a dumb leftist, okay, would not help facilitate that the Shah and his regime stayed in power. And basically, Jimmy Carter, by his inaction, handed the country of Iran over to the crazy radical Muslims. Right? What they should have done was assassinate Ayatollah Khomeini. Okay, they should have knocked this guy off, because look what this guy by not knocking off this nutbag Ayatollah Khomeini. Do you know who Ayatollah Khomeini was?
He was the leader of the Iranian Revolution, right?
Yeah, he was the one who inspired it. Okay, he was the inspirational source of it. Now, I don't think the idea of assassination is a good thing, but sometimes it's a lesser of two evils. And now, because of Jimmy Carter, wouldn't allow the CIA help to preserve a country that was friendly to the United States, right? We got something vastly worse. It's like this. You know, your toe gets infected, right? And the doctor says, "Look, you know, we should amputate it." Okay, so you say, "Oh, well, what about antibiotics?" Say, "Well, this is a kind of infection. We think it's a bit far gone." But you see, that infection can spread to the rest of your leg, and then you could have your foot or your ankle or your lower leg amputated. Sometimes the gruesome things are better than far gruesome things in this nasty world. And so all of the crap that we're dealing with Iran today, a lot of the blame and responsibility goes on Jimmy Carter. Then we come to Barack Hussein Obama.
The worst.
Rather than sticking it to the Iranians and bombarding them with every kind of imaginable economic sanctions to cripple their government, to bring down these crazies, okay? What does he do? He gives them billions and billions of dollars. He gives them billions of dollars in cash to get them to sign a piece of paper.
In the middle of the night.
In the middle of the night. Now, do you know who Neville Chamberlain was?
Yes, he was the guy that tried appeasing Hitler by giving him more and more territory, and Hitler just wanted more and more.
Yeah, and do you remember Neville Chamberlain coming off the plane, waving the paper, going, "We have peace in our time"?
Yes, he was very naive.
Right, and Barack Hussein Obama, a Democratic operative thug out of Chicago, okay, comes into power. And he basically grants the Iranians the ability to continue to enrich uranium, to continue on the path of developing a nuclear weapon. Okay? I mean, it doesn't get any more Neville Chamberlain than that. Now, did you know that the Israelis went in and found out the warehouse where they kept all of their nuclear documents? Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Okay. You see, you're not going to hear about this in the news media. Okay. They went in a covert operation through their intelligence sources. They found out what was the top secret location where they stored all of their information, records about their nuclear program. They went in there, and the Israelis were so good, they were able to go in there with trucks and abscond with truckloads full of this documentation. And they brought it back, they copied it, they provided it to the CIA, and the CIA confirmed that all of this stuff was original. The Iranians never stopped their nuclear bomb program. It was all a fraud. And yet Barack Obama says, "Hey, we have this peace treaty." So he gives them unimaginable amount the world's true or false? Are the Iranian Muslims in the government the largest state sponsor of terrorism in the world?
False.
Why do you say that?
Because they have no money. There's so many other big
Okay,
dogs
you're
in the fight.
a moron. You are an ignorant
Wait,
moron.
who did
They actually don't have any money. They have no allies.
You are an ignorant moron.
Wait,
You
who
should
did
stop
ego?
speaking now. Okay,
Darth,
listen
who
What
did
about
she
your
carefully.
say?
ego?
Who did she say didn't have any money?
Iran.
Bro.
Iran doesn't have any money. They've been
You-
destabilized since before
What?
Cuba, practically.
What?
Okay, listen to me
What?
carefully. How many billions of dollars did
Oh.
Barack Obama give them?
It was over.
Hold on a
100
second.
billion.
Hey, no, I'm talking to the ignorant female.
Your ego
How
is astounding.
How many billions of dollars did Barack Obama give them?
He simply unfroze the assets. That's all he did.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a question. If you don't answer, I'll just server mute you. We'll move on to somebody
Oh,
else.
Jesus, I'll leave, ego. Your ego is
Well,
astounding.
no, it's not ego.
God doesn't
No,
like your ego. Be full of virtue, Darth.
Yeah, here we go again. Because she couldn't answer the question.
What was her name?
Bliss. What an ignorant moron. Okay.
What an idiot.
Barack Hussein Obama gives unimaginable amounts of billions of dollars, even a hoard of cash. Okay.
I think it was $1 billion in cash.
At least. in cash.
In cash.
Not including the billions and billions and billions of dollars that he gave them in their frozen assets that were frozen because of the Iranian Revolution and the psycho mullahs took over. So he unfroze the assets and he handed that over to the largest state sponsor of terrorism in the world today, because they'll sign a piece of paper saying, "Oh, we won't enrich uranium to develop nuclear weapons." I mean, you can't even make this stuff up. It's so asinine. It's hard to believe that a human being who is the president of the United States could be so stupid as to do something like this. It's beyond belief. Okay. But leave it to the leftists, the communists, the liberals in the United States. They never cease to amaze with their level of stupidity. Okay?
Anyone that says that Iran is not a well-developed Near East country is literally just ignorant.
The Iranian people are very well educated. The Iranian people were very well educated.
It's just, I can't believe she's uttered something that retarded.
No, she's I guarantee you, she probably voted for Joe Biden. She probably voted for Hillary Clinton. You know, she's one of these low information leftists. You know, who gets her historical and political information from the likes of Rachel Maddow and MSLSD and the Communist News Network. So, even though, let's say, for example, Donald Trump sharply criticized George Bush for going in, and I think that there's some merit to that. I can see good arguments on both sides. But George Bush did not go in there to steal the oil fields. Okay? He felt that this was something that it was the lesser of two evils. Okay? Now, in retrospective, maybe it would have been better to attempt to cripple Saddam Hussein using other means. But, you know, hindsight is 20/20. But you see, if you just pay attention to MSLSD, CNN, you know, and you just get your information from liberal sources, you're not going to have all the facts.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Okay, I definitely do agree that Obama appeasing them was definitely not the right decision. But do you think forcing them into a corner where basically all they can do is essentially, you know, like it's like, you know, when you back a dog up to a corner, it's going to bite you, whether it wanted to or not. You think
that is not what's going on here. What we have are crazy psycho Muslim clerics running the government, sir. Do you understand that?
I get that, but what I'm saying is, do you think there's a middle ground, and it's not either one or the other?
I guess you don't understand here, okay? The only thing very dangerous people respect is a gun pointed right at their head, okay? These are not people who are behaving the way they are because they're fearful, okay? The Russians, the Soviet Union, did not gobble up country after country after country because they were scared. Okay? There's this approach by liberals and leftists. They have complete amnesia for history. They call good evil, evil good. I mean, it's hard to believe what I'm saying because it sounds so extreme, but it's easily defensible. I mean, we have a long history of just absolute incompetence on the part of Democratic elected administrations. Did you know that Truman did not want to drop the bomb on Japan? Did you know he did want to do it?
He didn't want to do it? No, I did not.
No. And do you know why he did it? because he was told. You ready for this? He was told, if you don't do this and it will end the war quickly, you will not be reelected. Okay. Now, did you ever see the movie Zero Dark 30?
I've never even heard of that.
You haven't seen it?
Never even heard of it, let alone seen it.
Okay, Zero Dark 30 is a movie that depicts the hunt for Osama bin Laden. I really recommend that you watch it. Okay?
All right, I'll look into it.
Now, of course, it's a movie. It's not 100% accurate, but most of the details are correct. When we found out where Osama bin Laden was, Barack Obama did not want to take him out. Did you know that?
No, actually, I didn't.
No. Okay.
But I'm not a huge supporter of
You know why? Do you know? Okay. So, and by the way, even though I sharply disagree with you and may criticize some of the things you say, I at least respect that you're trying to be intelligent and you are actually interested in politics and world affairs. I think that's good. Okay. I just disagree with certain things. Barack Obama did not want to kill Osama bin Laden. He didn't want to do it. Do you know what finally made him decide to do it? This isn't going to be reported on MSNBC or the Communist News Network or any of the other crap house news outlets, ABC, NBC, CBS. You have any idea why he made the decision?
Probably to get reelected, to be honest.
That's right. You're right. Leon Panetta was the head of the CIA, another Democrat, but a Democrat who, what I know about him in past administrations, he was far more cerebral and less crazy than other Democrats. Leon Panetta went to Barack Obama as the head of the CIA and he said, listen, if you don't order him being taken out, it will leak and you will not get reelected. Same thing that happened with Truman. Okay? Same thing with Kennedy. Kennedy had promised that he was going to give air support to the expatriate Cubans who were going to invade at the Bay of Pigs, and he didn't. He wussed out, okay? Because he was afraid that if it didn't go successfully, that it might undermine his reelection, okay? So that's why Barack Obama finally ordered it. And then he struts on camera, you know, like he's big man on campus. I ordered the killing of Saddam. He didn't want to do it. Did you know that when the planes flew into the World Trade Center, that was the second attack on the World Trade Center?
I actually don't know that, no.
Yeah, you're not going to hear that from MSNBC, MSLSD, the Communist News Network.
Bro, I don't watch any of it.
It was the second. Okay, well, the first attack was in 1993, where the Al-Qaeda terrorists drove in with a massive bomb, hoping to knock out one of the corners of the skyscraper, causing it to topple. And if it had toppled, it would have been as equally disastrous, if not worse, than 9/11. Okay. Who was president in 1993?
Clinton, no?
Bill Clinton, yeah. And what did Bill Clinton do for 7 years to go after Al-Qaeda when they declared war on the United States?
Probably nothing.
Yeah. Did you know that on September 10th, 2001, Bill Clinton was in Australia and he gave an interview. I heard the recording of it, right? And this is what he said. He goes, I could have killed Osama bin Laden, but I would have had to kill some innocent people, Yeah, well, 3,000 Americans and untold numbers of other people who had their lives irreparably damaged died because of his inaction. Did you know that during his 2 terms, the Sudanese government offered Osama bin Laden on a silver platter to him in order to gain favor with the United States? And Bill Clinton said in an interview, well, we didn't have a legal basis to take him.
Again, I don't like Bill Clinton at all, but yeah, he probably says something like that.
I did not lie. I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky.
His presidency was interesting. I'll say that.
String, that's not even a relevant fucking fact check, bro. Number one.
Say that again.
Number one, the people that he's posting in guest text saying that what you said is incorrect.
Who?
Bill Clinton and any U.S. president has the ability to kill anyone on the face of the earth at any given time. If there's an enemy to the state of the United States, that person will have absolute access to kill that human being. Saying otherwise is just not intelligent.
Bill Clinton had multiple opportunities to kill the head of a major terroristic organization that had declared war on the United States. Okay? And he didn't.
Darth, is String allowed to talk in this room?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I also don't understand how that source would be relevant, because I'm sure the people writing factcheck.org have no access to any information.
Factcheck.org. What a bunch of garbage. That's like PolitiFact, please.
Jesus, dude.
That's like people who think Scopes is a legitimate fact-checking site.
Every word in that source has it's a non sequitur, because no one in there has the authority to classify information. Coming from someone that does have access to classified information, I can tell you without a doubt, not breaking my code
heard Bill Clinton. Hey, String. I heard Bill Clinton on a recording myself. Okay. When he was in Australia, that he knew where he was, and he could have dropped bombs and killed him, and he didn't. Okay. Hey, String, did the Sudanese government have bin Laden under house arrest? Did the Sudanese government offer him to Clinton 3 times, and Clinton declined? Yeah. No, what we see by repeated, not that Republican administrations are perfect and can't be criticized, but the Democratic administrations are vastly, vastly worse. Richard Nixon had to resign because when he found out that some of the underlings had tried to break into a psychiatrist's office just to find some dirt on the Democrats at the Watergate Hotel, and Nixon tried to cover up. They were going to impeach him. Barack Obama knew that the Steele dossier was a complete fraudulent document. It was used under the approval of Barack Obama through James Comey, who also knew it was a fraudulent document. And they went to the FISA court knowing that it was a fraud to get the FISA court to approve surveillance so that they could spy on their political presidential opponent. Right? And people still think Barack Obama is a good guy. And the news media, with few exceptions, completely covers up for this guy. I mean, I don't think some of you young people have any idea of what's going on right now. Okay. So, for example, the Democrats want to have a federal takeover of the rules and regulations of the elections in the states. You know why? So that they can facilitate situations to allow massive and easy cheating on a wide scale, which will ensure the Democratic Party's complete control in perpetuity for generations to come. Well, come November, the Lord willing, if the Republicans take control of the House of Representatives, which it looks like they will, I'm really looking forward to their impeaching that scumbag's rear end, Joe Biden, for the crook that he is and for his malfeasance. And hopefully they can impeach Kamala Harris too. I mean, just look at the Democratic Party today. Every single one of the Democrat congressmen, with I think one or two exceptions, all voted to impeach Donald Trump twice on completely illegal and unconstitutional grounds. They're using the impeachment in the Constitution as a political weapon. Anyway, let's get off the topic of politics. Let's talk about something fun, like why atheists are incompetent and incoherent when it comes to their atheism. Anybody want to chime in on that?
Can you go into agnosticism, the issues with that?
Yeah. Agnosticism is the claim to withhold judgment as to the propositions that God does or does not exist. But upon examination, this is completely false. They're not withholding judgment. They're just simply claiming they are. Okay? They're claiming, oh, I don't know, I don't believe in either that God exists or doesn't exist. But the fact of the matter is they're not withholding judgment. They have decided that God is unworthy of belief as being referenced as the necessary precondition of all facts. That they have decided, they have made a judgment that they can do without affirming God as the necessary precondition when invoking the actuality and intelligibility of facts. That is not withholding judgment. Okay? So agnosticism is a fake claim to being neutral. Okay? It's a fake claim. And the reason why people are deceived by this is because unless you think about God from a transcendental perspective, that God is not just this unimaginably powerful, unembodied mind who's going to get you if you don't love him, right? When we conceptualize God as the transcendental necessity for the actuality and intelligibility of every single fact, and if you withhold belief in the claim of neutrality, that constitutes the denial thereof of the necessity of God, while claiming, I don't know. So agnosticism is just simply a closet form of God denialism, atheism. Once you understand it from a transcendental perspective, the claim that agnosticism, that they're withholding or suspending judgment, is about as convincing as a dude walking down the street in a tight skirt, a bad wig and lipstick, and a stuffed bra.
So I take it you don't like transgenders?
Well, I think that they're mentally and spiritually perverted. I think that they are just simply catering to their perverse fetishes, that they're fantasizing that there's something that they're not. And now they're emboldened because they are now being backed up by the news media, the entertainment industry, and one major political party in the United States. Okay? And we can all guess who that is. I mean, take a look at game shows. We now have Jeopardy featuring a guy. I mean, it's laughable. I mean, the guy doesn't even look like, I mean, it's clearly it's a dude. Okay? It's not even somebody who's had, bodily and facial surgery to make him look feminine. I mean, and they're promoting this guy as a woman. I mean, it looks like a Saturday Night Live skit. I mean, it's almost as bad as when Milton Berle as Uncle Milty would dress up in drag in his 1950s TV show. And Jeopardy is promoting this guy as a woman. He's not a woman.
Let's say they accepted that they're not going to be women. What's wrong with role playing? Like, is there anything inherently wrong with that?
Look, there are only two sexes, okay? Gender is a linguistic construct, okay? Sex is biological. Long before almost all of you were born, when I was young, when these cases started to arise, they were seen for what they were. These people had either mental or spiritual fetishes that they deluded themselves. And even the psychiatric community, of which I'm not no fan of, would reckon this as a mental aberration. But now we've gone 180 degrees, that if you disagree with their mental aberration, you're the one with the mental aberration. And now it doesn't just stop there. They want to indoctrinate little children with this as early as kindergarten. This is how depraved these people are.
Okay. What if?
Yep.
What if?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Do me a favor. Do me a favor. I want to hear you, but right now, whatever the situation is, your mic quality is not good.
Yeah. Sorry. Now can you hear me better? It's just my mic is kind of. It's just it moves around a lot.
Yeah. As long as you can sustain it that way, yeah, then I can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah. You can. Yeah. I'll just stay next to my mic. Okay. So what I was asking was, okay, I understand the place you're coming from of like promoting it as normal, but like, what's wrong with a man wearing heels? Like, let's say he knows that he's not a woman, but he likes the fashion, just likes the aesthetic. What's wrong with him?
If this weirdo wants to dress up like a woman, okay, fine. But if you're going to go out in public, you shouldn't be trying to pretend something that you're not. This is delusion. This is a fetish. Okay. What if I went around in a big diaper with a pacifier in my mouth? Walking around in the supermarket, and I identify as a 5-year-old or a 4-year-old, right? The reason why this is happening is because what's happening is Western civilization has been steadily rejecting the influence of Christianity over the last 100 years, ever starting with Darwin's theory of evolution. Darwin's theory of evolution started the ball, because now Darwin's achievement of evolution wasn't quote unquote the discovery of natural selection. The real achievement of Darwin was the removal of God from the sphere of rational discussion. Okay? When the American Revolution took place, the founding fathers, God was pivotal in the argument for our disassociating ourselves from the King of England. Right? But Darwin came along and said, we don't need any stinking God. We're just evolved, less hairy, more intelligent, kind of like chimpanzees. As that spread through Western civilization, and in other facets of life, this, in essence, removed God from the sphere of rational discussion, that God is real. We may we may have some arguments about God and how he wants us to worship him, but God is relegated to Christmas cards and people who want to go to church. Okay? Well, God is religion. God is not science. But guess what? Neither is science, because at the root of science are fundamental parameters that science cannot demonstrate. Okay? And by the way, and science is not the same thing as naturalism. And when they talk about science, what they're really talking about is naturalism, which is an atheistic outlook. So as that spread decade by decade, as that Darwinian ideology spread in the minds of people, it infected all areas of Western culture. Okay, jurisprudence, history, you name it, and that's why we see the rise of communism. Communism came right out of an evolutionary, Darwinian, and atheistic outlook by Karl Marx, right? And so once this idea was thoroughly entrenched, then by the time of the 1960s, after the sexual revolution, then in the 70s, then the homosexuals, okay, started to become politically active.
When was Liberace around? What year was that?
Liberace was prominent in the 1950s and 60s, and lesser so into the 70s, and then I think he died in the 80s. I'm not sure about that. But even though it was clear that Liberace was a homosexual, he didn't come out and push it into people's faces, other than the fact that he was effeminate.
Now you say that it took about 60 years for this to be normalized coming out.
No, what I'm saying is that toward the end of the late 19th century, there were certain people who wanted to abandon a biblical worldview, such as Charles Lyell, who was the father of modern geology. He hated the biblical account of creation, and he wanted to completely undermine it. But he was a really smart guy because he was trained as a lawyer. And he wrote in his personal writings that you can't do a frontal assault on this because people will dig in their heels. They have to attack it on scientific grounds. So he helped to popularize something known as uniformitarianism, that the key to understanding the world's surface is through uniformitarianism, that the key to the past is the present, that the current slow processes that we see today happened over a long period of time. And so that certain features, mountains, geological structures, sedimentary layers, are to be understood in terms of uniformitarianism, that this is the product of very slow processes over millions, if not billions of years, as opposed to the previous prevailing view, which was catastrophism, that the major topographical features, geological features of the world were the product of catastrophe, right? And usually that would be aligned with a worldwide flood and the cataclysmic occurrences that resulted in the worldwide flood. So then Charles Lyell and some others like him no longer wanted to consider that this earth, the cosmos, was the product of God. It's just simply the product of eons of time. And then they had a big influence on Charles Darwin. Charles Darwin had a nominal belief in God. He had a nominal belief in God, in the Bible. By the time he got back from the trip from the Beagle, he no longer had a belief that the Bible was a book of history. Okay. And so he wanted to become famous by the time he was gone. He ripped off the idea of natural selection from Alfred Russel Wallace, and he pushed it off as his own. Okay, that he discovered it. Okay, he didn't discover anything. And so he didn't discover evolution by natural selection. Evolution was called transmutation. His grandfather believed in it. It was believed by the ancient Greeks. Okay, even I think it was Aristotle who made a foreshadowing statement that mimicked slightly natural selection. I can thank one of the mods here who read that to me last week. That was good. So then Charles Darwin spread a new metaphysic, a new religion, that God is not the creator of the animal kinds on this planet. It's evolution, is materialism, chance and time. Well, that's in the late 1980s. Then it starts spreading decade after decade into academia. It starts to capture the minds of people. And God is removed from the sphere of rational discussion. Okay? See, unlike the founders believed that the reason why we set up our government the way we did in a tripartite way is because they felt that the government was supposed to be a proxy for God and not violate God's principles, such as giving us life and liberty, okay, and to pursue our own interests as long as we don't undermine other people's private property rights or harm them physically. And these all come from, biblical principles. Now, that's not to say all the founding fathers were Christians, but they had a nominal kind of Christian mentality. But Darwin comes along, and that type of Darwinian ideology erodes that previous mindset, which metastasized or snowballed over the decades. And so by the time we get to the late 19th century, we have the sexual revolution in the United States and in parts of Western civilization. Prior to that in Europe, they were abandoning belief in the Bible, attacking the historicity of the Bible. And that's why we see in some of these countries that they're largely atheistic, especially in England and some of the Scandinavian countries. Right. So it can all be traced back to Darwin's theory of evolution. It's no accident that this stuff about transgenderism and all the abortion, it can all be traced back to the influence of Charles Darwin.
Hey, Darth, have you heard about how the basis that Copernicus had in moving from geocentrism to heliocentrism wasn't scientific, but it was religious?
I got to take a phone call. I'll try to be back in about 10 minutes, okay?